just like Dylan said, Wilder, let's go, baby! Let's go!
The IBO, IBF, WBO and Super WBA unified heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua, has said that he feels very comfortable taking the fight with Deontay Wilder, and it does appear that Deontay Wilder maybe not so much confident. And this is what Anthony Joshua had to say. Ultimately, Wilder has to feel comfortable taking the fight. I'm very comfortable taking the fight. With Wilder's team, it becomes a situation where it's all about money. Everything I didn't box for. We're talking about a lot of money to fight, and he still wants more. Now, he did actually finish off as well when he said that Miller and Povetkin would be easier to negotiate with than Wilder. Miller would definitely step up to the challenge. When you've got these guys who haven't got much to lose, they're more serious. They know that they've got everything to gain. So that was Anthony Joshua's statement. So he's very comfortable. So for people who think that he's ducking or he's scared or he's lowballing Deontay Wilder, well, he's not. First of all, if he didn't really want the fight, then he wouldn't put in an offer. Second of all, like people say, well, he put in a lowball offer knowing that Wilder's going to reject it. But how would he know that Wilder's going to reject it? When Wilder has said for quite a while, and a lot of his fans have said for quite a while, we don't care about the money. We care about legacy. This is what Deontay Wilder said. So if you're being offered 5 times or however much it is more than your highest ever payday, when what you could do is go fight Dominic Brazil for $1.5 million, okay? Then if you're being offered 12.5 as what the rumour is, right? Then why would you not sign the contract? As it's all about legacy, because Wilder has a lot to gain out of this. Not only is he getting paid crazy money, but he's getting the fight that he's been shouting about for, what, the last year, ever since Joshua beat Klitschko. Now, of course, Joshua, he's gone around and he's collected all the belts at once. Or, sorry, one belt at a time. Now, Wilder hasn't. He's had a very, very easy career in comparison to Anthony Joshua. Of course, this is all my opinion. And I know a lot of you guys will agree, and I know some of you guys will not agree with that. But he's had it much, much easier. Anybody can get to 40-0 fighting the level of opposition that Wilder's had. Very, very comfortable. But the fact is that he's been saying it's not about money. A prime example, he was on the Boxing Voice, was it a couple of weeks ago now, I think it was. And they were talking about Joshua and ultimately building that fight. So if you don't get Joshua next, how about you fight Dillian Whyte? And Deontay Wilder's quite dismissive of that. And they're saying, but look, you know, your highest payday was, what, 2 million or whatever it was, but against Dillian Whyte, you could double, triple that to fight him. And Wilder's answer to them, and he was getting like a little bit ratty because he kept pushing the Whyte situation, which was, why are you counting my pocket? I've invested very, very well. I don't need the money. So why is it with Joshua he needs the money? If he feels like he's being lowballed, why? I mean, where else are you going to make this kind of money? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that first contract offer that goes in, you should always accept. You'll be a fool to do that, right? Because ultimately, Joshua want to try and keep as much money as they can, of course. But what Wilder should do is, if it's possible, get a little bit more, get a little bit more. But with the thought, you know what, I'm quite happy with this because it's not about money anyway. So if I can get a little bit more, fantastic. But also, it would have impressed me a hell of a lot, and Joshua fans and maybe Deontay Wilder detractors. It would have impressed us a lot had he went, okay, let's do it, and just signed. Because then we as fans are going to go, hang on a minute, he actually believes he's going to beat Joshua here. He's fully confident. He really doesn't care about the money. It is literally about legacy, but he didn't do that. So now it is actually about money, and Joshua is confirming that. And he's saying that, you know, we've offered him a lot of money and he still wants more. So if you're confident of beating Joshua, then not only do you become the A side in the rematch, as far as splits go, as in maybe you get 50-50, who knows, maybe a bit more, maybe 55-65, because I believe, just so I heard, that had Parker have beat Joshua, then he would have got 55% of the rematch. That's just what I heard. I don't know that for a fact, but if that is true, then it should be pretty much the same way for Wilder, right? So if you're really confident in beating him, not only will you become the first undisputed champion with 4 belts, 4 main belts, plus the IBO, which is more than what Lennox Lewis had before, so you actually be the first undisputed champion of this era in heavyweight, and the first undisputed champion for, what is it, 15 years now, since Lennox Lewis? Why would you not want to do that? And again, people who say that Joshua is lowballing, how on earth is offering Wilder more money than he's ever offered anybody else before, and that includes Parker, a lowball offer if he doesn't want the fight? How is that possible? It doesn't make sense to me. It really, really doesn't. As I said, had Wilder just accepted it, I'll probably started thinking, this boy's serious. Joshua could be in a whole lot of trouble. Now, of course, he could be in a whole lot of trouble anyway. We don't know until the fight happens. But it shows to me that he wasn't serious when he said that he wants legacy and not money. So Joshua is very comfortable making the fight next, but it seems that Wilder's not. This fight could have been signed right now, and we could have a date set and all that kind of thing. Again, people say, so why is it that Anthony Joshua sent through a contract that's just about money and not about date, venue, that kind of thing? Because that's normal. Because what he's not going to do is book Wembley Stadium for, I believe they're looking at August 23rd or something like that. It's around about mid to late August. So what they're not going to do is book Wembley, and then it turns out that Wilder doesn't actually want the fight. And he's then going to have to potentially lose all that money for Wembley, because his team is then going to have to fight Povetkin, and then Povetkin's team could go to purse bids, Povetkin's team could win that and end up dragging Joshua to Russia. So why would he do that? Or another scenario is that Joshua refuses to go to Russia, which is what I'm hearing, in which case he could end up vacating the WBA. So again, you could end up having Joshua losing the WBA because he vacated it, because he's refusing to go to Russia. Could also be that he ends up fighting Wilder for not undisputed, because it's one thing for the WBA to agree, but what if Povetkin doesn't agree? If Povetkin says, look WBA, you have called this, I want my fight. I don't care about any unification, undisputed, that's not my issue. The WBA, I don't quite know where they stand with that. They could override him, but they're going to have to compensate Povetkin. And where does that money come from? Anthony Joshua. So the money that's going to be made in this fight with Wilder, if the fight happens, they're going to have to be paying Povetkin around about 5 million or whatever it is to step aside. Because usually step aside is somewhere between 50% to 100% of what you would have got had you taken the fight. So think about how much Povetkin would have got as mandatory. That's going to have to come out of the pot as well. So for Wilder to get, at the minute, 12.5 million is the rumour, then that's what, 5 times more than his highest payday. But yet Joshua's not allowed to double his payday. He's going to get nowhere near double anyway. But people seem to think that Wilder's going to get 12.5 million and Joshua's going to get 87.5 million. On what planet? That is never going to happen. It's not a $100 million fight. I don't know how many times people got to say this. It's not a $100 million fight. So, anyway. I'm just getting out of there for you all, just so you know that Anthony Joshua wants this fight. At the minute, it appears that Wilder does not. But if he really does, why hasn't he signed? He says because he wants a percentage. Why? You have an opportunity for legacy. And again, they're saying, well, I'll tell you what, we will give you 60% and we are 40. But the argument is, Team Joshua are paying it. What are you giving Joshua? Joshua owns this purse. He's giving you the opportunity. And he's paying you well, a lot of money. to come here for the opportunity for undisputed. So you're not giving Joshua anything. Unless, of course, you guys are working behind the scenes. Maybe that's why it's taken so long. Because we do know that this 48-hour period and a take it or leave it offer is not true. It's actually a 10-day, which is standard for a contract anyway. And it's not take it or leave it. So there is room for negotiation. But I don't understand why would you not take it? So unless, of course, you're behind the scenes somewhere saying, well, okay, Al Heyman, we believe this is a $100 million fight. Joshua said that he'll take 50-50 then, if it's a $100 million fight. Or whatever. Can we give him 50 million and we take the rest? Maybe that's what they're trying to work on. Maybe. But if it's not, if they're going to come back and say, oh, right, I'll tell you what, we're going to give you 60%. Well, you're not going to give Joshua anything. Because as I said, Joshua owns the purse. So unless somehow you're going to come up with the cash, no. You take what Joshua gives you. And yes, there will be a deadline at some point because Joshua has to also negotiate with Povetkin. And he's on a 30-day course right now to negotiate a fight with Povetkin. It's now down to, what, 21, 22 days now? Where he has to negotiate with Povetkin about having a fight before September. So that's why it's a little bit rushed with Wilder right now. So Wilder really needs to make his mind up. If you're confident, you would have signed it already, as it's not about money, it's about legacy. Drop your thoughts below, click that thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.